recording. Good morning, YouTube. How are you today? Oh, it is Wednesday. I thought it was Tuesday, sorry. Wednesday morning, very humid and hot. Fires are still raging. We're getting lots and lots of help. I think what we need to concentrate is when the fires come up and how we're going to rebuild together. And that brings me up to the conclusion of this weird Bob Dylan's sort of situation I got myself into. I started off the new year with Things Have Changed, totally off the top of my head, and went through some of those songs, not as sort of my interpretation of the song, but how sort of the song fitted into the environment in a way, and how harsh we can be at each other when someone actually speaks about the environment that they live in, because we get wrapped up in this perfect ideal situation of a perfect world. Hold on, I'm just going to take the music off for this one. I think I can do this one alone. So, as some of you know, I've been on YouTube quite a bit lately, but at the time when I did start, not many people knew I was sick, and I made some crazy comments, and one channel that really helped me out was Mr. Tambourine, and there was others, as I've said before. And when I started doing these videos, I asked him, which I always get myself in trouble, when you ask someone a question, be prepared to handle any answer that comes away, because you might not get the answer you want. And sometimes when people, I know, sometimes when I ask a question and I don't get the answer I want, I have to need to drop myself in a way sometimes before I answer, because it didn't make sense or something to my way of thinking, but it made sense to the other person. And I always get myself in quite trouble sometimes because I ask people these questions and they fire back very quickly with their answer. And I asked Mr. Tambourine if he wanted me to talk about a song or an album. I was mainly concentrating on a song because I wanted to finish these videos with a song. He fired back with 3 albums. One I'm definitely not going to talk about publicly for a lot of reasons, mainly because of what personally was going on in my life at the time. But the 2 albums I do want to concentrate are Modern Times and, oh my gosh, I always get words and labels mixed up together through life, because those are the 2 albums Mr. Tambourine asked me to sum up with the environment and my personal thoughts on them. It took me a while. At first I went, oh my gosh, what have you done, Rachel? Why did you do this? Why did you ask such a stupid question? Because those 2 albums for me, I didn't hear fully until I got onto YouTube, but I knew a couple of the songs. Actually, I thought Thunder on the Mountain was written a bit earlier than what it was. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and sum up these songs with sort of like Bob's career, a little bit of religion, a little bit of my life, and hopefully it all makes sense, because I think those 2 albums as a whole, when you look at them, they're so wonderfully, beautifully written, in a way that they, to me, I don't know to anyone else, but to me they sum up universal love. They sum up love between 2. They sum up love as one. They sum up the difference between love and lust and pride, and pretty much when you look at it, hit us as humans simply through history, it's a pattern that keeps on repeating. And in a way, Bob's beautiful time machine, sort of like mind, he can go back and look at history and see through the patterns of history what could come forward. In a way, if we don't really take time to think about where we're going and take time to understand our environment around us as a community, because we need to learn how to think, I believe, one, with two, and with a community in a way. So for the purpose of these videos, I'm going to talk about mainly the community sense and how we fit individually, the personal, very personal side I do see in Bob Dylan. I personally don't really want to talk about that because that's my opinion, and out of complete and utter respect, I wouldn't even talk about that side unless I even spoke to Bob Dylan first, which would never happen anyway. So, and you don't need to speak to Bob Dylan because he speaks to you through the songs anyway. And that's why songs to me are more than entertainment. Not just Bob Dylan songs, there's a lot of songs out there. Oh my gosh, it's so human. Alright, how do we sum up these two videos? Well, let's look from 1920s onwards, pretty much, as a majority. We just wanted to work and party as a majority. We just wanted to let the politicians decide, look after us and govern us. And some of us tried to do right by each other, some didn't, and we ended up in a complete and utter mess that we've got today. That is, on a community sense, sort of one. On a ground scale, if you look down on a link underneath my video, you'll see, and this is how I'm sort of going to combine the two albums, you'll see a link to an interactive map of all the atomic testing that's been done since the first bomb, which was unnecessarily dropped, because if you look back at World War II, you could see Japan wasn't doing too good. No one was doing too good by that time anyway. The war was going to end either way without that bomb being dropped. That bomb being dropped, I think, was solely an experiment. I believe it was the first testing of the atomic power of splitting the atom, which we should never do. We're atoms, we're all made of atoms, we should be uniting together under the rainbow of life, not splitting each other up. Like, seriously, we've gone from splitting each other up as a community to even trying to find the power of splitting the atom. Doesn't that show you what happens when you split an atom up? You get a big explosion. So on that map you'll see all over the world there was testing done. So where we as a society just worked and lived and had babies, and worked and lived and had babies, and didn't take time to understand each other because we were too busy with trying to find success one way or another, you came to the problem of a great division of peace and warfare. And so at a time when we should have been building ourselves to understand each other's cultures, because here in Australia, as we've all learned through history, you go into another country and you don't understand the culture of how that country works, you're going to have trouble. With the fires around, we have trouble now because we didn't take into consideration it's purely bad land management. We have a unique water system and unique water supply. that runs our country very well, and because of our farming has sort of tapped into it and mining, and we're suffering now. So that's the end of video 1. Video 2 will be next.